Hey gamers and goblins, my name's Cara and welcome to my Homeworld 3 series sponsored by Gearbox. They are paying me to make these videos, thank you a bunch to them for that. If you want to play Homeworld 3, check it out using my link in the description. You can buy it today on Steam and the Epic Game Store. I have 14 advanced tips and tricks for Homeworld 3 to help you in basically any game mode, especially for the War Games game mode and for the campaign. My first tip is the Mothership smother tactic. I talked about this in another video in the series. Click the card in the upper right if you want to see the whole playlist of all of the sponsored videos I'm making with Gearbox. Basically, the advice there is that for a lot of the campaign, what progresses the campaign is where your mothership is. So one of the fastest ways to beat the campaign is to send your mothership into any location that it needs to go. To have all of your fleet guarding your mothership in either a delta formation or a circle formation, and just kind of smother whatever enemies come along. Like, you can tank a lot of damage. You don't need to worry about microing your ships around the environment. You can heal any damaged ships really quickly and easily. And the mothership moves super fast too. Like, your ships will struggle to keep up with it. It's sort of a meta tactic, but it's really powerful. I'd seriously recommend it. Number 2 is your formation and breaking your formations. You need to know what formations are good, but you also need to know when you can break them and just let your units attack enemies one-on-one, however they feel like. If you don't set a formation specifically, normally they'll kind of form up in this sort of delta wing wave formation. Pretty decent on its own, especially if you're just selecting your whole army and telling them to go attack somewhere. It's really not bad. If you are using a lot of skirmishing units, the claw is a really good one because it concentrates a lot of your firepower. It also still lets you be pretty maneuverable too. It's like a stretched out X. A lot of the other ones are kind of okay, but the ones that I really like are the X ones for your heavy frigates. You want to destroy an enemy's capital ship. An all-around really good one is the circle one, because your ships don't move around very much and they concentrate a lot of firepower on the enemy. That kind of makes you a sitting duck too, because your ships hardly move around at all while they're doing that. But you also need to know when you can break your stances too, because there are certain moments in a fight where it's actually hindering you more than it's helping you to tell everyone to get back in formation. If you have a few like scattered units that aren't in a formation that you're trying to fight, you don't really need to be in a formation to take them out. It's quicker and easier a lot of the times just let your units just take them out however they want to. If you skirt around the environment and you attack ships, you attack from behind at a significantly higher damage amount. It's something like 20 to 30% higher than your normal damage amount if you manage to flank a ship and attack it from the side, which is especially powerful if you manage to flank, say, a capital ship, because then you can just take them out really quickly and they won't have any time to swarm you with other units or to respond super quickly either. So if you're not just going for the mothership smother tactic, that's a really great way to do a lot of damage in a really short amount of time. Number 4 is that all sorts of things serve as environment cover. You would be surprised by how many little nooks and crannies you can kind of fit your ship into. So when you're planning out how you're going to handle a certain war game or skirmish or whatever, really take a big look around the map and see what sort of surfaces you can hide your troops around and how you can sort of navigate around the enemy without them even spotting you before you descend on them, like Teutoburg or whatever, but in space. Number 5 is some weird things that I and other people have noticed about torpedo frigates. They will only attack from their max range. So if you actually look at them, they'll sort of scoot around and move around really awkwardly so that they can fire their torpedoes from the maximum range. Like, there's not much you can do about it, but just be aware that that's why they're moving weirdly, I guess, until they fix it. In the campaign, the mothership isn't the best for fighting on its own, but if you pair it up with a lot of ships, even if you're not doing the smother tactic, you can do a lot of interesting things to increase the damage that the mothership does. You can flip around the mothership and turn it on its side to broadside units, and you can sort of hide it under surfaces and inside little nooks and crannies and stuff too, so that you can just be like, surprise, mothership, and then attack them with all of your turrets and other ships too. It's pretty fun what you can do with the mothership. Number 7 is to try a tactic called the hammer and anvil. Basically, the way that this one works is that you start attacking a force with strike units like interceptors or recon units just to sort of pull their attention in one way or another. What they're really doing is leading them towards another force to sort of flank them and attack them from behind. You just met the hammer with the anvil. Swarm and distract with the smaller fast force, and then you can get them with your frigates. Always build the max amount of supports that you can. They're really good because they can heal your mothership, but if you also just have them around, they will heal other ships and also heal each other. I guess it's basically like having a mage healer, but you can build as many as you want to up to the limit. That's a bad analogy, Cara. Oh. Number 9 is another tip that I will never not recommend. Put all of your resource ships on a control unit so that you can toggle back to it and press H just to like really quickly get some more resources automatically. Now, sometimes they can get destroyed, sometimes they can get in trouble, but the payoff is so worth it so that you don't need to micro your resource units. You can just tell them, hey, go collect more resources, and then they'll go out and do it by you pressing 2 buttons in a split second. You'll basically always have enough resource credits to build whatever you want to and research whatever you want to. Number 10 is that you can round out your fleet by building everything up to and beyond the cap. So what happens in Homeworld is that if you keep on building units past the maximum of units you're allowed to build for your strike force or whatever, what that basically does is it creates a queue so that if a lot of your ships get destroyed or whatever, it'll just start building more of them automatically, at least until you run out of credits, which you should never really run out of credits, to be honest. The smaller ships will just build faster too, so you always have more smaller units than larger units, but that's probably what you want to do anyways. I guess unless you're only fighting capital ships or something weird like that. Number 11 is that the mothership is hella fast, especially in the campaign. You might get a speed boost in the campaign or something because it goes incredibly fast. It goes faster than most of your other ships if they're guarding it. It's kind of crazy. I guess the tip there is that you can get to places really quickly, but also be careful if you get there too quickly because you don't want to overextend your mothership or anything either. If you're really in a bind for credits and you really need to research something or build something, and for whatever reason you can't send a resource ship out to salvage a ship or to harvest resources or anything like that, if you're really stuck for resource credits, what you can do is take some of your ships that you don't want to keep anymore and you can recycle them for credit. You do that by holding down Alt and right clicking. Number 13 is to prioritize researching ships and then prioritize researching abilities. For me, and at least for my playstyle, I find that I honestly don't use abilities all that often. It's sort of micro-y, you need to select all of the units of a certain type. What I do build a lot of are the new ships that I unlock though, so like I unlock the ion frigates during the campaign, I'll build a lot of those. So for me, I like to prioritize researching new ships, capturing new ships, and then secondarily researching abilities, which can be useful. I don't use them that often. They're kind of micro-y and easy to miss. And a lot of them have some weird trade-offs too. Like for interceptors, you can increase their damage, but weaken their damage precision. Number 14 is that you can weirdly nest control groups within control groups and have them overlap and interact in really weird and bizarre ways. So like if you want all of your units to be in one control group and then to have individual control groups for all of them, I guess if you want to move around all of your ships to a place all at once, that is totally something you can do, and then you can still have your other control groups working as usual. It's probably a feature in a lot of other RTSs too. It's just It can get a little bit messy in this game when you're trying to add units to a control group, but they're already in another control group, so you're just giving them a lot of conflicting orders and stuff. So just be aware that that's a thing that can happen, and I'm sure you can use it in a lot of really effective ways too. The real tip is that Control-Shift- deletes all control groups you've made. So if you get really mixed up, you can just pause, press Control-Shift-, and then get reset with all of your control groups just to kind of sort everything out once again if you get mixed up like I do a lot. Thank you a bunch to Gearbox again for sponsoring this series. And you can play Homeworld 3 now on PC. You can buy it on the Steam and Epic Game Store using my link in the description below.